Yeah, I've been switching lanes and I hope that she don't notice. When I'm on the road, I feel like I can be so
Fight.
Yo, what's going on, Players Club? Hey guys, today we are here to talk about and compare two new exciting action RPG games. Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins, and Elden Ring. Final Fantasy Origins Strangers of Paradise has a demo available on the PlayStation Store that I recommend that you check out. And Elden Ring has been out since February 25th. This game has received 10 out of 10s and is a juggernaut and one of the best games to be released in the beginning of 2022. Both of these games have much in common and are both built on the high-risk, high-reward Souls gameplay. That's right, guys. In this game, when you get hit, any kind of blow can take almost half of your life. And you have to be very careful when you're engaging combatants to make sure that you come out on top. We're gonna go over a few different sections. We're gonna cover the story, the graphics, the world, and the gameplay. Elden Ring takes place in the lands between after the destruction of the Elden Ring itself. Your job in this game is to go collect all of the pieces of the Elden Ring, restore them, and defeat the evil queen to become the Elden Lord.
Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed named Torrent. Ah, as I had hoped.
On the other hand, Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins has a more upbeat story. It has a more of a J-pop style in contrast to the Western tropes Elden Ring.
That's wonderful. In that case, if it's not too much trouble, would you be able to spare some for our soldiers in the castle? There's no medicine, is there?
Both games have amazing graphics. I captured Strangers of Paradise in 4K performance mode. I captured Elden Ring in 4K on maximum settings. Both games run as well as most games do in their genre at launch. However, if I had some criticisms of both, I would say Strangers of Paradise has the look and feel of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy 15. However, it doesn't feel or look quite as polished. Perhaps this is a result of the demo build currently being offered on PlayStation 5.
Let's see what's inside.
Elden Ring, with this larger open world, brings massive scope and great views. However, in most of my travels so far, I've only seen great green fields, yellow trees. I would like to see more. However, with that said, this game still looks amazing. As with plot style, the worlds of these games differ greatly. As mentioned before, Elden Ring takes place in an immense open world. The scale, size, and diversity of monsters is utterly devastating. The creatures feel as if they are truly living in the world. There are creatures as large as a giant turtle with a bell underneath his belly to a weird, really slimy, nasty swamp monster that lives in puddles in the swamp. You can traverse the world on foot or with your trusty steed. Sounds of the game sound and feel real. When your dagger crashes into the wall instead of a goblin, you can hear it and feel it bounce off the wall instead of going into the goblin's flesh. Monsters make distinct sounds and frightful shrieks. The voice work is also well done enough to make you feel immersed in George R. Martin's epic storytelling. In contrast, Strangers of Paradise has more of a traditional Souls-type, Bloodborne-type, stage-based world. While the scale is not as great as Elden Ring, the labyrinths are well designed with many different environmental obstacles that the player will need to interact with in order to progress. At one point in the game, I had to use a water spell to move through a column of flames.
Have to get through those flames.
Water might do the trick.
Players travel to stages via a map screen, and it appears from the demo that there are towns and hubs in between missions that allow players to level up and speak with NPCs. Being a Final Fantasy fan, we all know that having towns in between missions is an absolute staple of the franchise. Final Fantasy 13, I'm looking dead at you. In contrast to the world in Elden Ring, the monsters in Strangers of Paradise are much more brighter and colorful. The voice acting is what you would expect from a Final Fantasy game, with the protagonist reminding me of the main characters from Final Fantasy 15.
Look, the crystals can sense each other.
You have one too, don't you?
My mission is to kill Chaos. That's all I know.
Me too.
Good. We're all on the same hunt.
I'm Jack.
Jed.
Ash.
Last and not least, let's get into gameplay. Both games have similar difficult combat, with Elden Ring only having a single difficulty. Combat can be brutal, and in Elden Ring's case, difficulty spikes can come out of nowhere, forcing the player to turn back and go in an entirely different direction to level up gear or their stats. Jobs in Elden Ring are extremely important. It is imperative that players pick a class that complements their true gaming style. When I first tried Elden Ring, I went in with a purely close range vagabond class, which in turn was very difficult for me as a new player. After changing my class to Astrometer and starting over, I was able to incorporate long-range combat abilities into my class and progress a lot further and enjoy the game a lot more. The game was 100% more playable. If you don't believe me, go ahead and check out my last video on Elden Ring. XP comes in runes, and you can spend them on items or character leveling. This style of leveling gives the player an extreme amount of freedom in crafting your character. As far as combat mechanics in Elden Ring, you have two hands, which you can decide to equip a number of different types of weapons, from swords and shields and axes to staff, maces, and bows and arrows. You can cast spells, counter with shields, or go in two-handed for more damage. You can also enchant weapons. My personal favorite battle mechanic in the game is the ability to use ashes to summon spirits to come defend your honor. Strangers of Paradise has grueling combat and a diverse array of monsters. Like Elden Ring, you will equip all kinds of weapons, from swords, shields, and staff, and other items. In Strangers of Paradise, your weapons decide your class. As you level up, you can assign different abilities and buffs to classes. If you die in Strangers of Paradise, there is no penalty for death. You simply return back to the save point and try again with all your current XP. Some major gameplay components in Strangers of Paradise are the soul counter and the class cancel. Soul counter allows you to hold down the circle button and counter and steal spells from enemies that can be reused without using power. Using this ability does run down your stamina. Class canceling allows players to switch to a different class in the middle of a combo to extend a combo using a different weapon type. I found doing this risky, as enemies never really got staggered even when you hit them multiple successful times. Something else to note in Strangers of Paradise is your party fights with you at all times in combat. I felt at times this took away from the difficulty, as even when difficult bosses were clearly overpowering my teammates, they would get up and just continue fighting and chipping away at the boss's life bar. Some cases allowed me to stand back and watch without putting in much effort or putting myself in any real danger. This mechanic may be a turnoff for some die-hard Soul fans. All in all, I do enjoy the combat because it can feel stylish in a Devil May Cry sort of way when executed perfectly. So what is my verdict? I am pretty new to this new action RPG Souls type genre. So I like Elden Ring and I like Strangers of Paradise. I think that Strangers of Paradise is a little bit more accessible, as in the gameplay mechanics I'll give you an easier bit of time in fighting enemies. And I do also like the story and how it's presented. I love the Final Fantasy series. On the other hand, Elden Ring, once I was able to get Astrometer class locked in, I really started to enjoy the game because I was able to actually make some progression, and it's really fun. And when you win, you really feel the rewards from the challenge. All right, guys. Well, look, if you guys like this analysis, it's my first analysis. If you guys like this, you guys like this kind of content, make sure to let me know in the comments. Hit that like button, and if you're new, hit that subscribe button. All right? Thank you, guys. Love you guys so much. Peace.